This was the best news I'd heard since we were first warned of the incoming threat. I asked Halagar, how did you convince them to aid us, given their isolation? The diplomat simply sighed in a way that expressed great dread. We did no such thing. The humans have the capacity for kindness and reason until they are brought into battle. It wasn't always so, but it is now. When we negotiated for the ships we gave to you, we'd actually been negotiating for many species in your position, feeling that even the least warlike races could survive using strong enough weapons. We were right, to a point. The diplomat's tendrils were dropped to his side, signifying his sorrow at what he was to say next. The human weapons are indeed devastating, but due to the lack of familiarity in their use, and the unfamiliarity with the war of many races, they were not used to their fullest potential. A human crew would not have lost its watertight. Halagar said the name of the great battleship with a bit of bitterness in his tone, yet he never told me why. He continued, because the Fifth Hag do not accept communications, and are ignorant of most species' customs, they thought the ships were the humans. Seeing that while the weapons were indeed strong, they were foolish and could be overwhelmed with relative ease. They found enough weaknesses they felt they could exploit that they decided to attack the staggeringly large populations of humanity. They slipped into one of the more isolated human systems and found a human ship harvesting a star, the greatest of heresies in their ancient religion. They decided to destroy and consume the heretics and attacked a small civilian moon. Untold numbers of Vivhag ships were lost assaulting that fortress, even though it was one of the least defended human colonies we are aware of. But the moon was destroyed. They had to destroy the moon and all the inhabitants simply due to the fact the humans were too well entrenched to make any landing possible for the invaders. The next words were said with a sorrow indescribable. The Lord General heard of this and gave the order for war. A human war is not something I would wish upon my worst enemies, but I and the rest of my people know that now it cannot be stopped. They're not coming to help you. That is a side effect of their desire for vengeance. We convinced them to send reinforcements to the fronts who were having the most difficulty fighting, and they agreed. Your world is one of them. I pondered this for some time, equally hopeful and nervous at what I could only imagine was on its way to my ancestral home. What do we do, Halagar? We will stay with you until the humans arrive. Then we will leave, for we cannot watch this happen again. They will protect you and allow you to reclaim your lost territory. If you wish to earn their respect as a people, fight with them, showing the same determination to avenge the fallen as they do. If you wish to be ignored by them once again, simply hide and protect yourself as needed. A second communication came from Captain Flagstaff shortly after that conversation, stating that one full-strength, super-heavy Titan battleship and an escort of 100 light Imperial battlecruisers, including Stoke Adjudication, and 50 standard Imperial battlecruisers would arrive in 3 weeks' time. We needed to hold off the Vivhag until then, when, to quote the message, steel rain will assist the ground troops, and billions of weapons will annihilate those in space. I spread this information to those Dashai under my command, and to every other Dashai in space or off-planet. Much hope came from our people at this, and our morale was at its highest. The Vivhag met our space fleets in combat once again, the great battleships having been resupplied from our homeworld, and engaged the enemies with newfound fervour, or as much as could be possible for our still unadjusted to combat soldiers. The battle in space raged for over a week, and our lanes remained unbroken due to the constant supply chain coming from our homeworld. The Vivhag realized that the only way to break through the defenses in space would be to infiltrate and destroy the planet. Many stealth troop carriers were sent to our home, and very few made it. Still, millions of Vivhag infantry made landing, a large portion of those arriving near my platoon's position. This was the first time I, and indeed nearly all of those with me, saw one of those creatures in person. Their massive reptilian forms striking fear into us by simple visage. However, we remained unbroken, determined to do as the humans asked, and hold until they arrived. My weapon was one of human origin. I was told a single human would carry one of these machines and march with it firing into the enemy, with a second behind carrying more ammunition. But even adapted to Dashai use, it was too heavy for me to carry alone. It was what the humans called a chain gun. It had 3 barrels each, with 5 smaller barrels fed from multiple drums, shooting over 300 depleted uranium bullets per minute per barrel. We had encampments with multiple Dashai squads along the front using these weapons to send an endless stream of fire at the enemy. Behind them were Dashai using sniper rifles, also primarily of human origin. The human sniper rifle shot what they called a 1.0 caliber explosive round, with a bolt action. Behind them were artillery and anti-aircraft weaponry coming from a combination of Jukes Lee and human design. The Jukes Lee favoured plasma-based weaponry, and the humans used a combination of explosives and powerful lasers. Halagar and his soldiers held just ahead of our chain gun encampments with portable shielding stations and multi-shot plasma cannons to act as our buffer. Ahead of our infantry was a vanguard of hundreds of human heavy tanks, firing 3 kiloton armor-piercing non-nuclear shells from 2 barrels every 30 seconds, and with multiple, much larger chain guns mounted on the front and back. There were additional manned turrets on top, which shot 1,000 micromissiles per minute in any direction needed. The VIKING did not have the capability to bring much armor support to the planet, and air support was similarly limited. They did not have many of these machines in general, preferring to use mechanized combat suits to bolster their already resilient and physically strong forms. The enemy advanced upon us, unleashing a volume of fire twice as great as the Jukes Lee weaponry. The human weapons were 4 times more, a shadow of lead and dust from explosives providing drastic contrast to the lights of the laser cannons. What little cover available to the advancing enemy was destroyed as rapidly as they could seek it. However, it was far from one-sided. Any attempts to advance in their position were thwarted by ambush packs and mechanized gun suits. But this ultimately did not matter, for we were in a stalemate. While VIKING troops were still being flown in from their space fleet, the Jukes Lee field factories were producing more ammunition and power cells, keeping us from running out of supply. This scene played out all across our home. 3 of our great cities fell to the enemy, but only those built on land. The water was defended by human light shark tanks, and the VIKING lacked the amphibious capability to break through. Many Dashai and Jukes Lee were lost in that battle. 2 million Jukes Lee left existence, and data collected after the battle showed 30% of Dashai living on our homeworld met the same fate. However, 80% of the bodies were recovered, compared to the average 5% from previous VIKING engagements for funerals. This battle lasted until our space fleets detected the human escort ships arriving system. 150 great battleships arriving to aid us in 2 clusters of 75, separated by a massive gap of void. Our spacefaring soldiers ordered by the humans to take similar positions, told to clear a path. When this was done, we saw why such a strange order was given. The VIKING fleets rushed to fill this new gap and attack our split forces, but they were quickly completely destroyed by an unseen impact. Then we saw what had caused such damage, going deep into enemy lines to the very back of the VIKING fleets. The super heavy Titan, dubbed LGV Quite Affirmative, had punched through the enemy at superluminal speeds, ramming those unfortunate enough to be in the way. 40% of the remaining VIKING ships were destroyed.